Hello and welcome back into the shop. Got the 57 moved in here yesterday, and now it's time to get into the meat and potatoes of actually working on this thing. I got that front clip pulled off last week and pulled the interior out. Now it's time to actually get some progress going. So this morning I came out here and just yanked the engine and trans out. It wasn't too bad. I didn't even bother with taking the bolt or the nut off of the stud here. I just cut them off for the old engine mounts because I'm going to be putting those bolt-on ones that go in the rivet spot here to put it to side engine mounts for the small block I'm sticking in here. And it took a little while to get some of that stuff apart for whatever reason, like the little U-bolt straps for the U-joint at the back of the drive shaft there at the axle. That thing, it took forever to get all the mud and road grind stuff that was caked on there off and out of the way just to get my wrench on there. But once I did, it came out all right. It's not heavily torqued. It's a smaller fastener. Same kind of deal here. The bolts that were in the trans mount, like horns here that come off the frame, those bolts also were caked and covered in grime. I left some of it there on the floor. That's after I've swept this thing up a couple of times. So took a little while to get that out. I just cut the mechanical clutch linkage with a sawzall kind of quickly, because I'm putting an automatic in this one right now, and if I ever do back to a manual transmission in this car, I'm going to put a hydraulic clutch on it anyway, so I don't really need the pivot ball or any of that kind of stuff on there. So I'm just kind of clearing it out of the way, making room for stuff. So I'll do the same thing with the horns coming off the frame to mount that manual transmission. I'm going to whack those off of the frame just like I did on the 55. Better clearance for headers and getting around to stuff under there, and I'll just make a lot more room getting that stuff off of there. But anyway, moving on. What we're working on today is we're gonna get going on the rocker replacement. So you can kind of see, Crunchy doesn't even describe it. There is nothing here. Inner rocker is half rotted out behind the rear driver's side door, up pretty close to the lead seam right here. So I kind of melt out some of that lead out of that seam, and then work along cutting it out. The inner panel is not separated through most of it. It's actually loose through a lot, so I'll just cut the whole rocker off and fit up and put this new one on. I think what I'll do here at the base of this pillar is kind of make a cut down and over and up, like cutting around the bottom of the pillar, and then trim it from the other side rather than drill all the holes with a spot weld cutter. Because I've seen a few examples of people doing that, and whenever I did it myself on the 55, it just left such massive mangled holes in there that were harder to fill with weld. So I'm going to try and grind it from the bottom side, from the rocker side, and clear that out that way on this one, and then just drill a few smaller holes to weld that section back to the rocker. And I think that'll work out a little bit better. We'll see. And I'll show you guys, but I'm thinking that's the way to go. So anyway, I'm going to get this thing set up, and we can get going on cutting some of this stuff up. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I absolutely love rainy days working in the shop. We haven't had much rain here in quite a while. Not much at all in June, so it is nice that July is starting off a little bit wet. But yeah, I just love coming out here and listening to the rain fall while I'm working. It's fantastic. Well, that was fast, and more importantly, it was fun. Got the majority of the rocker cut out here on the driver's side. Driver door and passenger. So I got some repair work to do here in the little dog leg area back here, but it won't be too bad. This one won't be too hard to make a little patch there. Get up in there might be a little difficult, but I can do it. And yeah, I just kind of cut up next to this panel, so I'll get in there and grind the spot welds that are left, kind of in my traditional way of that burr and rolling and peeling to get it out of the inside of this piece, because I really don't want to push and mangle and bend this all out of whack. And then just pull out a bigger grinder and knock this section off right here. Same thing right there. I left a lot on the B pillar there. But, yeah, I'll get in and grind and knock the spot welds off that way, instead of doing the drilling through and making gigantic holes and a big freaking mess out of everything. So, yep, came out all right. Big pile of junk on the floor, but got it off of that support that also goes in between, kind of sandwiches between the floor and the rocker. But yeah, coming along okay. Moving along now to abrasive cutting on this one instead of the plasma cutting. That was the fun bit. This is more the dirty, nasty bit, but the job continues. Well, I think I'm about done for today on this. I've got a birthday to go to, birthday dinner, and then I might want to go see a movie afterwards. So I kind of eat up the rest of my Saturday. But I had a pretty productive day. So I got the engine out, sitting there under a bucket. Got a little rain in it, but whatever. It's already frozen up inside. What do I care? So I've got the nice hole cleared here in the engine bay. So that's cool. I did get the plasma cutter. I cut all the way up to the front for the rocker. The whole outer rocker is cut front to back, and I even cut for the B pillar here, it is swinging free right now. So next step is get under there, clean what's left from the original rocker underneath it so it can set in place in the right spot on the new one, which I've got over here. A lot longer than the other one, but it's got a brace inside here for that door pillar location, so it'll go right here at this pad. I just need to clean this section that's left on that other piece off of there before I put this one on. But yeah, this is another one of those wonderful weld through primers that you don't have to take anything off. I really liked working with this the last time, so I'm excited to weld through it again, because that thing doesn't spit and spatter or cause any issues at all when welding. It just goes in really nicely. So I did take a little detour this morning after I got the engine and transmission out. I was flipping through the phone and always browsing Facebook Marketplace, and the first thing that was at the top of the list, because it knows what I like to look for anyway, was another set of wheels that I was looking for this car. So someone had just posted those things up, so I had to run out and go grab them. It's another set of these American racing wheels, except this one is 15 by 7s in the front and 15 by 8s in the rear, so a little wider in the back, and yeah, they'll set up a little taller, have a little bit of a raked stance to it. We'll see what I think with that one on the 57. Maybe I want to put the two sizes on the 55 and put the match set on the 57, or I don't know. But it was a good price, so I went out and grabbed it. But anyway, I will pick this back up tomorrow, come out here and get grinding a bunch and get the last of that the rocker panel that's left everywhere ground down, all the little flanges and stuff off, and ready to weld it back to the pillars, and then I can go to the passenger side and start cutting on that. I got to get that floor out of the way over there. With that thing, I've got it just leaning at the moment, using the rear axle box as a table, and just kind of sitting here ready to slide that thing out of the way. But yeah, made a decent progress today, so yeah, I'll pick this back up tomorrow. All right, next day, got back from lunch after church, went to A&W, which is delicious. I'm way too full, so this is going to be wonderful. Got the air conditioner fired up. It's not raining today, the temperature's up, humidity's up, so going to be keeping the garage door down a bit, maybe open it up once in a while to kind of clear out any dust or fog or whatever in here, but try and keep it closed to keep the temperature down a little bit, be a little bit more comfortable. But anyway, I'll quit yapping, grab my grinder, and get going on this thing. Well, it's been quite a little while here working on the remnants of the rocker, getting these cut off. So at the bottom of this B pillar, you've got 4 areas basically that the pillar is attached to the rocker. Let's see here. You've got this flange right here, the outer edge, the front flange, and then this edge. And to get it off, you got to grind off all the little spot welds and roll the inner piece without mangling it. And actually, this wrinkling is not me mangling it. That's actually what it looked like from the factory. I guess the pinch welder, when they were running that particular spot, was pinching pretty hard and bent it up. So I might straighten that one out myself with the hammer and dolly. But got that one done. Back here, took the whole pocket out in here. You can see my hand on the back side. The new rocker has a back plug back here, which on the two-door sedans is not the case. So I'll show the rocker here. So this is the fill plate at the back of this rocker piece. On the four-door sedans, it runs the full length. So of course the front section where the bottom bolt for the fender goes in, and then back to this is that pad where the B pillar base goes, and then it goes underneath where that dog leg is, but actually wraps around here, and this piece will slide up between the floor and the wheel tub. So this will actually get sandwiched in there. I'll need to straighten this little bit right here out with a hammer and dolly, and then yeah, I can get that slid up in there. But anyway, it was about an hour a piece that I spent cleaning up each of those spots, and I've still got to get the front one. So this one's going to take quite some time. And then I still got the other one to do. But yeah, just taking my time of not using any air chisels or even like hammer and chisel. I'm just using a little putty knife scraper to kind of lift the flanges, and then my full assortment of small belt sander, grinder, cut-off wheel. There's a little putty knife scraper, and then I'm using this cylindrical burr for cleaning up some of this stuff, and it's working really well. This tip really cuts in that sharp edge. You can cut very nicely when you want it to cut. Most of the time I don't use this particular one because it'll dig in on that corner and actually gouge pretty deep. Usually prefer a rounded nose burr, but that one for this specific thing where I'm trying to cut out spot welds is working pretty good. So I'll probably set up the camera for a little bit better camera angle on the front. I didn't have it set up for this center one, just it was going to be difficult to set it there in the way while I'm on the ground and try and see what I was doing. But and I was also just trying to learn what to do on that one. So I think I'll try and set that up on the passenger side so you can actually see what I'm doing, at least in time lapse, because it took quite some time. But yeah, moving up to the bottom of the A pillar and start getting that cut out. But yeah, it's coming along. It's just slow. Well, progress has been a little slower than I wanted. It took me about an hour a piece to grind the base of the A and B pillar, and then at the dog leg, at the C pillar area at the back end of the old rocker to get all of it off. So a lot longer than I had anticipated. I thought it might be 10 or 20 minutes a piece, but it was just a fight. Some of it was just huge globs, like almost baseball size, of seam sealer that was put into the pillar and like soaked down to the bottom to seal everything up at the factory. And I got the old rocker off, and then there's another shelf. I'm like, what is that? Start poking it, and it's got a little give to it. It's like, oh no. So it's like 20 minutes to pick that stuff out on each one. So that took a little while. But here's where we are right now. I have a new panel fit up front to back. So, you know, pretty critical to make sure that you get it lined up right at the front edge. I'm gonna tap this one back just a little bit, get that back a little more. I haven't taken the door off, so it's where it was, although this one has seen some whammo action here. On the other rocker it was sitting in the way it is here, so I've got some adjustment and stuff to do on this one anyway. It's been hit, but the B pillar where that lines up is just golden there. And then this is the same body line where it gets really tight. I tried to put a paint stir stick in here to try and force some of that gap open a little bit and a little further forward, but it was pulling the bottom of the door out whenever I was doing that, probably from driving right here. So I think this is actually just going to be what it's going to be. I'm going to let it be a little tight over here, but you know, the bottom of the pillar is no longer wobbling around because it actually sits really well. This piece sandwiches on that pad, and the outer piece here where it wraps around grabs the front edge, so it locks the top of the rocker in place and holds it inboard outboard really well. So that's pretty good. Something I was a little worried about, but yeah, it did that pretty well. Now back here, this was so rotted, I actually cut a little bit, but most of it was rotted up here, so I'm gonna have to make a little bit of dog leg to wrap back up. Same thing here, like probably a patch of this whole section right there at some point, probably later this week or maybe next weekend. I'll get into that, but I'll burn in kind of what I got and then patch in a little later. Like, this is solid enough back here right there on that corner that I can put it in and then kind of work inside and outside to stick it together. But yeah, just one clamp in the back and one in the front, but the way everything locks in, you know, you got that flange that gets sandwiched in between the floor piece and the wheel tub, locks it in pretty well. And then I was able to salvage a bit of the lip that's on this piece to clamp that to, and that'll be what I'm welding to later. On the 55 it was so rotted I had to just make a new piece right there, but this one's in a little better shape right there. So yeah, coming along. I'll knock that back a little bit further and get it lined up where I want it, and then drill some holes in a few of the pieces that I want to stick it to. Like, I'll drill a couple holes here, do one right there, so I can just fill that up. Also need to grind all this stuff off. I haven't even touched the top side of it, but the bottom side is nice and clean, and I sprayed the bottom side with some weld through primer before I put it up there, so kind of protect it a little bit. Did that on all of them, so I want to wait for that to dry a little bit, but this one I didn't, because there's nothing to weld to. But anyway, I'll do a little bit of prep work and then be back for welding. Well, I've got all the prep done, and I'm ready to start welding and burning these things in. So I've got 2 holes drilled. One's underneath this clamp, but right there, got some holes burned in on the side. 2 up here. This little trim piece doesn't really need a hole. It'd be kind of hard to drill one anyway, so I'm just going to put a little tack weld in the corner to hold it in each one, because it's just a fill piece, not actually a structural member. But for the structural member here on the bottom of the B pillar, got several holes, so this thing's going to be burned in really nice, and then a couple in the back and some on the side as well. So I'll get this thing really secure, and then on the back I'll tack it up a little bit just to hold it here for a bit, give it some strength. But I'm gonna have to come through and, you know, patch this area here in the dog leg, because it's a little crunchy. So not the worst thing in the world. But anyway, I'll get the camera set up for a good view and just start burning this in. Ain't bad enough. All right. Doesn't really take that long, that much either. It goes pretty quick. I also usually like to put a little tack here just to burn in that corner. Here we go. Nice. There we go. one more over here. There we go. I think I've said it before, and a good way to tell if your welder is set up correctly is if it sounds like bacon sizzling when you're welding. You know, if it's pop, 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 then it's not set up right. That's usually a sign of your wire speed's too high, or you need to increase the power. If it's a real light hiss, then usually your wire speed's too slow because the arc's going, but the wire's not feeding out enough. But the wire feeder, the MIG welder, it should just sound literally like bacon sizzling in the pan. See, that's not right. There's a little cold in that spot. There we go. Started off a little cold. I stopped for a second, let the heat propagate, moved a little bit over to the side, and then that worked out right. So, yep. One little tack here. Cool. Let's get these inside ones. Use my clamp to hold that out of the way. Set this on fire, I want to use it for a pattern. Hold that up out of the way. Let's see. I think I'll move this camera a little bit. Should be a little better view. That edge knocked down now because I can't later. There we go. Here we go. throwing a little extra on the sides because you won't see it covered with the carpet, and it'll just make it a little bit stronger. There we go. Got a little bit more here at the front and the back to do. Ha ha! This one's the little hole that I've got for the wheel tub to this back flange. And grab another small clamp to get that put together. I'll be right back. You can never have too many clamps. Really wanted to box around that corner. Bottom side of this looked pretty good. The side of the dog leg's not so great, but this bottom side actually does look pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead and burn that on. I can trim around the other stuff later. Sweet. Got that one burned in on the edges and there. And when I come through for this patch right here, I'll zip it right along that edge, over and up. Just put a flat patch here. This goes into a valley right here, which is where the old leaded seam was. So that's gonna be filled with filler anyway. Well, that about does it for the driver's side rocker panel. I've got that burned in pretty well. I'm gonna cut off the passenger side. I'll grab the plasma cutter and just get going with that. I wanted to get that thing cut out before I head in tonight. It's getting a little late, but I still want to get that cut off so that tomorrow I can come in bright and early and while I'm fresh, start grinding out, cleaning up the base of the pillars on the passenger side. So I know it's going to take about 3 hours to get done. So I'm not going to get it tonight, but I'll come out a little more energetic tomorrow morning and get that taken care of. But field did pretty good. Got the side here burned in a little bit, but I'm gonna have to do some patching still. So I did a few welds in the which will be in the valley where the original lead seam was for the body. We'll grind that down and it'll get filled with a filler later to smooth everything out right here. And I'll just cut along that edge and over, because actually this flange is pretty good. It started at the edge where the overlap was and further back where all the dirt and stuff got kicked forward from the back side and packed up in here. So anyway, I'll get this this patch made as well, work on getting all the dog leg stuff, but I think I'll take care of that after I get the other rocker panel in, and just work on the dog legs on another day at the same time when I'm more into it. But yeah, anyway, I'll get the rocker cut off after this, and when you guys see me, it'll be picking up tomorrow, and I'll show you how I trimmed and cleaned up the bottom of these pillars after I cut the old rocker panel out. So I might put a little bit of footage in between with cutting on the plasma on the passenger side. We'll just see how much battery I got left and go from there. Well, I finished getting the rocker cut off, and it's time for me to go to bed. Tons of fireworks going off. It's Sunday the 3rd, and everybody's having a blast around here. But yep, got the rocker cut off all the way along, and of quite the mess for future Josh to clean up tomorrow morning. So anyway, grab a late bite to eat, hit the hay, and see you guys tomorrow morning bright and early. Well, I've got this rear pillar on the passenger side cleaned up. It's a little more rotted than the other side was. The tin worm is continuous here. And big hole there. So I'll just use this for alignment purposes, getting the new panel in for the rocker. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to do a little more work over here to get this fixed. I do have a little more to work with here though. I trimmed off the flange where it drops down and goes over, but I might be able to actually reuse this section right here. So we'll see. There's a little bit of rot there, and of course some bubbling just everywhere up the pillar. But you know, this stuff, it is what it is. I'll probably get one of these dog leg patch panels and look into availability on those. And if I get one, I'll just grab one for each side. I'll grab both. But anyway, just get in here and get the let's see. There we go. This surface and that surface where the rocker are attached to this dog leg, I was just grinding that flush. So I was using the carbide burr mostly. Did use a little bit of the little air die grinder. It's a little smaller than my Milwaukee one as far as packaging goes. Just I can get around to things a little better. Don't always like hearing the beast run continuously behind me, but I do like the torque that thing has. I had got a little bit thicker cutoff wheel, so it's not slicing into the sheet metal as easy as the other ones. So it seems like the pneumatic one pulls that abrasive through a little bit easier than the electric grinder was doing it. But anyway, next up is moving to this middle pillar. So it still has the rocker attached here. I'm going to make a little slice along this edge right here to separate that fill panel piece from the rest of it. But I'll do that after grinding right there, the same spot right here, because that fill panel is only really spot welded right there and one's back here. So I'll grind that off, then cut this and kind of get up in here and cut the inside corner. Do the same thing on this one, and then peel out the metal, and then there's just going to be a gigantic chunk of filler in there, or seam sealer they poured in. So it was impressive what I pulled out the other one. So I'll try and have this camera set up and show you guys just how big that blob is in there if you haven't seen one like that. But anyway, get back to doing some more grinding. good sized chunk there. Well, it's the next day. I gave up on Monday after working my way from back to front. So I got B pillar and C pillar done. Got the C pillar, ground the base of the B pillar, got it ready to go. Just didn't quite get up far enough forward. Was giving it a whole lot this weekend and just kind of petered out. So needed a day. Anyway, back out here after work. Fired off the AC unit and gave it about an hour to cool down out here. Oh, also yesterday I was using the compressor a whole lot, and it was generating a lot of heat in here, so it was fighting the air conditioning unit and raising the temperature out here. So in this winter I'll actually really enjoy running that thing because it'll be an auxiliary source of heat. But right now in the summer I might need to swap out for my larger AC unit in the window. I got one in the house that's about twice as many BTU as this one. I got the cheapest Walmart one I could get back in the day, and still got it in there. It does pretty well. I mean, it was 101 or something today, and that thing's got it at, you know, what, 84 or so, 85 degrees in here at that spot, and down here and on the ground especially, it's a lot cooler. So not too bad. I think when I was coming out this way, I glanced at the thermometer in the garage attached to the house, and it was 110 degrees in there, which is what it used to be in here last summer before I put all this insulation up. So if you're on the fence about insulating your shop or garage, if it's in a detached one like this, do it. It makes a world of difference. So it's fantastic. But anyway, I'm going to get this camera set up, and I'm going to get a little more lighting than I had on those other ones. It was kind of dark. So I'll get a little bit of light set up on the bottom side, get the camera set up where it can see it, and spend the next hour or so going to town on this thing, getting it cleaned up. So here we go. well, there's the A-pillar cleaned up. Hopefully that came out all right. I guess I'll look at it in post-production here and see exactly what I caught. I tried to get different setups and lighting and stuff for you guys to see exactly what I was doing, but it's kind of difficult with it as low as it is, setting the camera up and pointing it up. And I toasted another lens cap thing for the GoPro. You can see all the little speckles and stuff, so it's on me. It's not too bad. It's about 15 bucks a piece, so yeah, grab another one. Oh well. But anyway, get back to down here. Big dang mess. I'll grab that flashlight wherever I stuck that thing. There it is. So I touched up and knocked down the surface rust that's in here. I'm gonna grab my can of rust converter spray, spray that up there and let it get to work, and then I'll go over that with the weld through primer and spray that up in there. There are certain areas that you can tell, like where the light's coming through right here, that I'm going to cut out and patch later, but I'm just going to go ahead and get this stuck on. I'll do the other stuff a little later, the inner and upper part of this brace at the bottom of the pillar. But yep, that's how I'll do that. So when I pick this back up, probably be tomorrow, I'm gonna get this thing painted up and primed and ready to go, and for welding the new rocker on, and I'll weld that rocker on tomorrow when I get home, so I'll give plenty of time for the primer and stuff to dry out, because I've noticed that weld through primer, if you mess with it when it's still a little wet, it can kind of screw with stuff, but if you give it, you know, a day or so to dry, or even like an hour in the heat like we've had now, it dries up and it actually welds pretty good. So there's that tech tip. But anyway, I will see you guys out here tomorrow. Alright, it's the next day. I've got the rocker fit up here. I got it clamped on that front side, and got a little clamp here on the flange on the back. I'm looking at the door to rocker gap, looks pretty good and even there, and along the dog leg and up, it's an even spacing here. On the other side, it was tweaked in the first place whenever I got it, so I'll just deal with it. On that other side, I might go in on that other side where it's tight and just kind of shave the back edge of the door and weld it up to get the gap back where I want it. It's not something I would prefer to do, but it is what it is over there, so I'll just deal with it later. Anyway, getting ready to do the welding. I have drilled my holes here through the parts of the flange where it touches. I've got 5 up here. There were 6 factory spot welds that I cut out, but I'll have 5 of these and then a few extra little tacks around, so that'll be good. But yeah, I'll get this thing welded in. think that about wraps it up. I was going to keep this video going to include the floor, but it's kind of grown in scope in the number of days it took to get to the point where I'm at right now with the pillars welded in here. But haven't cut the old floor out, much less got it prepped and ready to go for the new floor. And I think that'll make its own video worthwhile. So I think I'm gonna call it right here. But yeah, I've got the new rocker panel in place. Got good door gaps and on this side, and the doors closed and everything. So yeah, it's not too bad. It takes a little time, not the worst thing in the world, but I'm pretty happy with it so far. And you know, got some other things I'll have to replace around it to shore everything up. But moving along. So next video we'll pick up with cutting out the remnant of the floor there. So lots of playtime with the plasma cutter and grinders and cutoff wheels and all the same kind of toys and fun that we were having with the rocker this time. But thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time.